All right, here I am at the Oak Street Railroad crossing in Wyandotte, Michigan. Now, this is another rather iconic crossing owned by the CN Shoreline subdivision, the Conrail Detroit Shoreline, and the CN Flat Rock subdivision that I decided to retour for this year. Filmed by many times by the legend himself, Owens32, in the past. And my first crossing tour of this crossing got quite a lot of views, so I decided to give you guys, another retour with the correct, information, equipment, and history. So yeah, and there's quite a lot to uncover on this crossing. So first of all, let's get onto it. First up with the preemption signals. So as you can see, this is the emergency signals that flash, that turn red whenever a train comes. As you can see, they're currently at a solid green and says emergency signal. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and move on to the actual railroad crossings. Now, one thing worth mentioning, that this is probably the most protected railroad crossing ever in Michigan. Like 80 lights light up when this crossing activates due to the wiring now. But now, one thing for sure that this crossing has character of is the wiring, because it's very incorrect. Like, first of all, the back lights do not shut off until the gates go all the way up. They're supposed to shut off once the gates go, start going up when a train goes on that track. And all four of the Conrail middle signals light up no matter what. And yeah, and whenever a gate goes up when a train is not on that track, the back lights do come on while the gate is going up, while that a train is not on that track. It's quite weird, but yet really cool. This is probably my favorite crossing, quad track crossing in Wyandotte. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna give it a brief retour for y'all. So buckle up, this is gonna be a long video. So yeah, I guess with all that out of the way, so for the first signal, this has a Siemens cantilever, and here's the emergency information and the dot number for the CN Shoreline sub, and the dot number is 867588U. And this was definitely a newer install, sometime between 2015, 2018, I think it was, because one thing worth mentioning, that back when Owens32 was here, this crossing used to have a Harmon cantilever and a Harmon gate mechanism, which is pretty cool. But sadly, the Harmon gate mechanism got destroyed by a car and was gateless on this side for a while, which caused the crossing to malfunction a lot, according to Owens32. But later, that was replaced with an Invency's rail gate mechanism until that cantilever and gate setup was taken down and this one was put up. So yeah, with that said, and the gate mechanism, this one is a Siemens gate mechanism, newer gen with the imprinted logo, with Rico LED gate lights and a wing guard. And as you can see, the mast is directly connected to the cantilever. And for the mast lights, this has two pairs of Satran 12x24 GE uniform LEDs sitting on Satran light brackets. As you can see, each individual pair have their own light bracket. And for the overhead lights, which is the same story, has two more pairs of Satran 12x24 GE uniform LEDs sitting on a Satran light bracket. It's a little hard to see due to that cage. And I heard a horn in the distance. I think that's like the Dearborn sub. And for the bell, this has a low-pitch Siemens electronic bell. So yeah, pretty neat stuff to see here for the first cantilever. So yeah, I guess with all that said, let's go on and get on to the next one. So this crossing is all cantilevers. It's quite crazy. So yeah, let's moving on to the next signal, which is one of the original ones. So yeah, for the next one, this one has a Harmon cantilever, and here's the emergency information, the dot number once again. And if you look up here, there's an old Grand Trunk Western dot tag. Yep. And for the mast lights, this has two pairs of Satran 12x24 incandescent light heads with dialight LEDs in them, sitting on a Satran light bracket. You can see these are the older gen with the Hawker and Sidley logo, so obviously these were incandescent before. And for the overhead lights, speaking of incandescents, this has one pair of Satran 12x24 incandescent lights and one pair of Satran 12x24 incandescent light heads with dialight LEDs in them, and these are all sitting on a Satran light bracket, as you can see. And for the bell, this has a Satran Type 3 electronic bell, which replaced a General Signals Type 2 sometime in, the mid-2010s. So yeah, that right there was the CN Shoreline side. Now let's go ahead and move on to the middle tracks, or the Conrail signals, and this is where stuff gets rather interesting, for say, history-wise and current equipment-wise. So yeah, obviously, as you can see, these cantilevers aren't the same as they were. Well, that's because they haven't for a while. So back in before 2017, this crossing used to have, back in the Owens32 days, I'd say, this crossing used to have, oh, there goes the Dearborn sub again. This crossing used to have, for the middle tracks, you have them, really classic Satran cantilevers with Western Hayes mechanical bells and General Signals Type 2 E-bells and incandescent lights. And if you guys remember, those middle signals malfunctioned in Owens32's content. But sadly, around 2017, they ripped all those out, and they actually replaced the mechanical bells with E-bells before they did, and put down these brand new cantilevers with mechanical bells, which is very surprising because you'd think they would use E e-bells, but they actually brought the mechanical bell charm back to this crossing. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and tour the middle tracks. So for the first signal on this side has a Siemens cantilever, and here's the emergency information and the dot number for the Conrail Detroit Shoreline. The dot number is 511642A. Yep. And then for the lights, for the mast lights, this has 2 pairs of Satran 12 by 20 inch GE uniform LEDs sitting on a Satran light bracket. Yep. Which is kind of cool too, to see 12 by 20 inch LEDs. And for the overhead lights, once again, has 2 more pairs of Satran 12 by 20 inch GE uniform LEDs sitting on their each individual Satran light bracket. You can see there's 2 light brackets and each pair sit on their own. And for the bell, this has a Western Cullen Hayes mechanical bell. Now, for a while, I thought these were reused from the older signals, but they're not. So these are like the slightly newer gen mechanical bells that they use for these. So yeah, that's the first one on the NS southbound track. Now let's go ahead and move on to, the other signal, which is similar to the first one I just toured. So yeah, for the next signal, this one has another Siemens cantilever, and this one has no blue tag or information on it whatsoever, not even the sticker emergency information, but oh well. And for the mast lights, once again, has 2 more pairs of Satran 12 by 24 inch GE or 12 by 20 inch GE uniform LED sitting on a Satran light bracket. And for the overhead lights, it's the same story with 2 more pairs of Satran 12 by 20 inch GE uniform LEDs sitting on their own individual light bracket for each pair. And for the bell is another Western Cullen Hayes mechanical bell. So yeah, very loud crossing if you ask me, with all these e-bells and mechanical bells going off at once. So there's 8 bells in total at this crossing and like 80 lights. It's absolutely insane. So yeah, with all that said, let's move on to the next signal on the Conrail Detroit Shoreline. So yeah, for the next one, this has another Siemens cantilever once again, and no blue tag is included here, not even a sticker emergency information, which is wonky. And for the mast lights, this has 3 more pairs of Satran 12 by 20 inch GE uniform LEDs sitting on Satran light brackets. And these are the side lights that are pointing towards, the Memorial Station, or where it used to be. And you can see the Barry & Co. over there, but I'll get into that in a minute. And for the overhead lights, has once again 2 more pairs of Satran 12 by 20 inch GE uniform LEDs sitting on individual Satran light brackets. And for the bell, has another Western Cullen Hayes mechanical bell. 4th gen, I believe. I think these are 4th gen mechanical bells because they are brand new. This is a 2017 install, so most definitely this is, one of the more recents. So yeah, moving on to the last signal on the Conrail Detroit Shoreline, which is the same story. So once again has another Siemens cantilever, and here's the emergency information, and once again the blue tag but no sticker. Yeah, and then for the lights, I'm just gonna say it like this. This has 4 more pairs of Satran 12 by 20 inch GE uniform LEDs for the mast and overhead, so you guys might quite get the memo by now. And for the bell, this has another Western Cullen Hayes mechanical bell, and I noticed that each of these mechanical bells are facing backwards. But yeah, that right there is the Conrail Detroit Shoreline signals. Quite a view to see. From a distance, it don't even look like a railroad crossing. It just looks like a mess of cantilevers. Quite interesting, I have to say. So yeah, moving on with the CN Flat Rock signals. Now this is where things get really cool and interesting. And sorry for that little rough cut. Since I figured this video will be over 10 minutes long, I'm gonna go ahead and merge 2 clips together so you guys get the full experience when it comes to the Oak Street tour, because this is a rather iconic crossing. So for the next signal, this is where things get rather rare. So for the next signal, this has a Wabco cantilever, which is pretty rare. You don't really see these a lot. And here's the emergency information and the dot number for the CN Flat Rock side, and the dot number is 258093M. And there was an old dot tag over here. Yep, there is an old Grand Trunk Western dot tag, as you can see on the side of this signal. And excuse me. And for the mast lights, this has 2 pairs of Satran 12 by 24 inch incandescent lights, and 1 pair of Satran 12 by 24 inch incandescent light heads with dialight LEDs in them, all sitting on Satran light brackets. Pretty neat stuff to see. Some actually, no, correction. These are actually 2 pairs of Satran 12 by 24 inch dialight LEDs with incandescent light heads, and 1 pair of Satran 12 by 24 inch incandescent lights. Yep. And for the overhead lights, once again, has 1 more pair of Satran 12 by 24 inch incandescent lights and 1 pair of Satran 12 by 24 inch incandescent light heads with dialight LEDs in them, all sitting on a Satran light bracket. Quite neat to see these still around. And for the bell, this has a a low-pitch Siemens electronic bell. Now, one thing worth mentioning, back in the 032 days, this used to have a General Signals Type 2 electronic bell, but later that was replaced by a WRS mechanical bell. But sadly, after 2 months of that mechanical bell being installed, they replaced it with this low-pitch Siemens. I guess they replaced it because they didn't want to deal with that having another mechanical bell at Oak Street, because they already have 4 of them. So, yeah, which is big sad. That gave it a lot of character right there, I had to say. But oh well, good things must come to an end. So that was the first signal, well, I guess second to last signal on the CN Flat Rock side. Now let's go ahead and move on to the final signal of this crossing, which is the rather iconic, well, not so much, the iconic cantilever on the Shoreline side was already replaced, the one that 032 filmed a lot. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the final signal, the Flat Rock gated cantilever. So for this one, this has another WABCO cantilever, and here's the emergency information, the dot number once again for the Flat Rock side. And for the gate mechanism, this has a Satran gate mechanism refurbished, as you can see. It has Ricoh LED gate lights and a wing guard. Now this crossing, this side used to have a WABCO Model 75 gate mechanism, but obviously that was later replaced. I forgot when though. So yeah, and for the mast lights, this has 2 more pairs of Satran 12 by 24-inch incandescent light heads with Dialight LEDs in them, sitting on a Satran light bracket, which are, once again, original. Obviously used to be incandescent. You can see the Hawker and Siddeley logos in these. And for the overhead lights are 2 more pairs of Satran 12 by 24-inch incandescent lights sitting on a Satran light bracket. Same light heads, but these still have the original incandescent lights in these. And for the bell, this has a high-pitched Siemens electronic bell. Yes, high-pitched. It's quite weird for Oak Street to have a high-pitched Siemens e-bell, which is kind of unfortunate, though. In this bell replaced another GS Type 2 back around 2020, I believe. So yeah, that right there is the recognizable Oak Street railroad crossing. And as you can see, up here are some more preemption signals at the other side. And as you can see, one of the lenses are busted on one of these. Yeah, the lens is busted on the green light, but yeah. Also, don't walk in the road. That is very dangerous. And you can see a GT property keep off sign right here. And here are the relay cases. Here's the CN Flat Rock relay case at milepost 7.35. And here's the Conrail one, which is brand spanking new. And the CN Shoreline one is that large one over there. So yeah, that right there is the show for Oak Street. Let's take a look at the track view. Down there is heading towards Vinewood Avenue, Ford Avenue, Antoine Street, and eventually if you go further north, you'll find yourself at E-Course. You can see how the track curves in. You can see, obviously, this is a jointed rail track, since that's what the Flat Rock uses. And down there is heading south towards Pennsylvania Road, Sibley Road in the Riverview area, and eventually you'll find yourself at Trenton if you keep going south. So yeah, so that's the CN Flat Rock side track view. Now let's go ahead and check them out at the Conrail side. So looking at the northbound track side, you can see where an old a default yellow signal is. I think that's on the CN Shoreline though. And there's currently one set up to come. I think that is the yellow signal. I'm not sure if that's default. But over there you can see Vinewood Avenue and a whistle post on the side, just like so. Now let's go ahead and take a final look at the CN Shoreline track view. Yeah, and as you can see, this is the most spaced out crossing out of all the quad track crossings, so it's quite a walk to get from track to track. So sorry if I keep rough cutting the video for that. Okay, so looking over here, you can see how it curves to, the Riverview area at Pennsylvania. You can see the default yellow signal. And over here, you can see the gated signal at Vinewood Avenue. Here's another default yellow signal. And further down, you will see the signals that will take you straight to E-Course. And there's also the Flat Rock block signal, but that's kind of, hard to see from a distance. So, yeah. So with all that said, this was the Oak Street Railroad Crossing in Wyandotte, Michigan. Retoured for 2023 for y'all. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. This was, quite a mouthful and quite an iconic crossing with many history and equipment things to uncover. Hopefully to get this in action again soon. So with all that said, over and out.